What's going on, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest, your go-to YouTube channel for everything latest New York Knicks. We're talking rumors, trade rumors, news, anything discussing the New York Knicks. I am here for you. My name is Josh Rodriguez. Definitely want to make a community here of Knicks fans, as you will see later on in the show. I do take your YouTube comments. I use them as content, so make sure you comment below on anything that you see in this video or anything related to the New York Knicks. Want to build a community here of Knicks fans that root for the team, that are objective about the team, that stay positive about the team, but are not afraid to have hard discussions about the team. It is the most important season in the past 25 years as Knicks fans. This is the first time in such a long time that we actually believe we should be favored to win the East. So let's get to it. The news of the day, Shamsbaum, he says, well, it's been reported that the feds are no longer investigating Malik Beasley, who was last on the Detroit Pistons, was a big reason why the Pistons were able to take a step forward last year, make the playoffs, fought hard against the Knicks, went 6 games. Malik Beasley was a huge reason why that team was successful. Now he's back on the open market, and a lot of Knicks fans think that we should give Malik Beasley a shot. There's one problem, though, Knicks fans. We only can offer the vet minimum, and he's not taking the vet minimum. As of right now, it's been reported, I think Ian Begley reported that they, as in the Pistons, could have offered Beasley $42 million. Right now, they could offer him around $7.2 million as a qualifying offer. Any team with a mid-level exception could offer him more than the vet minimum. So for me, the only reason why he would come to New York would be A, he's willing to take a pay cut, and B, he really wants to play for New York, and there is nothing out there that would indicate that's going to happen. I would love Malik Beasley on the Knicks. I think he'd be a perfect fit. Almost similar to what Dante DiVincenzo was when Dante was here, someone who can shoot the three, move around the perimeter, is a good defender, someone like that. But unfortunately, the Knicks just don't have it in the budget. They don't have the money for it. They can't afford him, and I don't think Malik Beasley is going to be taking a vet minimum right now to be on this team. The more realistic options right now are the ones that we've been talking about. You know, your Landry Shamet's, your Ben Simmons, your Thomas Bryants of the world, those players who are still looking for a team who are probably going to have to end up settling for a vet minimum contract. Now, it would be great. I would love it if Malik Beasley was a Knick. I do think that he is a very annoying player to play against. You know, a little shimmy that he does was kind of frustrating to watch. He didn't have particularly a great series against the Knicks last year, but I mean, watching the Pistons last year and seeing what he was able to do and how effective he was from three-point range, I think the Knicks could use a lot of that. I think you could have made a case that he should be in the starting lineup as the 2 guard, but don't want to get too deep into that if I don't even think that he's going to be around in the first place. I think he's probably going to end up re-signing with the Pistons, you know, considering the success he had there, his chemistry with Cade, his love for the city. You know, he was very big on Twitter last year talking about how Little Caesars Arena was bigger than louder than the Garden, which is ridiculous. But I do think he's ingrained himself there in the city of Detroit, and I don't think he's going anywhere. So, you know, there are some articles out there talking about Malik Beasley possibly coming to the Knicks. They all end with, hey, this is probably not going to happen because he is going to have to sign for a vet minimum. Don't get too excited out there if you're a Knicks fan. I know the idea of it is good, but the Knicks just don't have the money for it. I want to move on to an article I read in Sports Illustrated. It was about Josh Hart and his role with the New York Knicks and what that's going to look like next year. And I kind of want to get your opinion on that too, because Josh is my favorite player. We share the same name, but that's not the reason why he's my favorite player. I think he does a lot for the team that I don't think goes unnoticed, but I think it's very vital, right? Gets those extra offensive rebounds, pushes the basketball, is a good passer, you know, makes things happen. He's somebody who, when he steps onto the court, things just happen, and most of the time they're positive things. Now, last year, he was inserted to the starting lineup. He led the league in minutes. Tom Thibodeau just loves the guy. I mean, in every situation, just comfortable using Josh Hart, and there's a big reason why. You know, he does everything well. He's a good defender. But I do think, and this article was alluding to it, I do think that Josh's best role is coming off the bench. I don't think he should be getting 35 minutes a game. I do actually think it's a problem that if someone like Josh Hart is getting 35 minutes a game. He's not the type of player that should be getting 35 minutes a game. He is a superstar role player. He's a star in his role. And those players, yeah, they should be getting a lot of playing time, but they shouldn't be getting anywhere near the amount of minutes that Josh Hart was getting. He's somebody you bring off the bench for energy to ignite a team. Yes, sometimes he finishes the game. Yes, sometimes he might get 30 or 35 in a particular game. But for you to rely on a Josh Hart type player all season in that way, I think is doomed to fail. I think his best role is off the bench, bringing in a spark. You know, we got into some trouble last year once teams figured out that you take the big that was on Karl-Anthony Towns, you put him on Josh Hart, you take the perimeter player on Josh Hart, you put him on Karl-Anthony Towns, and the Knicks didn't really have any answers for that offensively. Tom Thibodeau never really figured it out. Teams sag off of Josh Hart and dare him to shoot the three. And the funny thing about Josh is that when he shoots the three confidently, he's a pretty good three-point shooter. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he's a decent three-point shooter. We saw that against Philadelphia 2 years ago in the first round. He carried the Knicks shooting the three ball. You know, when he's confident, stepping into his shot and just letting it fly, I have all the confidence in the world in Josh Hart to hit the three. But when he's hesitating, when he doesn't want to take that shot, when he's second-guessing, when he's trying to do other things, and he doesn't shoot the ball or he shoots it with hesitation, then he becomes a bad three-point shooter, and that's what teams bank on. And as of right now, teams have decided we're going to sag off Josh Hart to try to help in the paint or to help off to shade Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony, whatever the situation is, and it caused some problems for the Knicks and their offense last year. Now, that has to be fixed. That's up to Mike Brown to come up with some schemes that, you know, if Josh Hart's on the court with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns at the same time, we have an offense that flows and that defenses can't cheat. I mean, I'm interested to see what Mike Brown does there. But it's also on Josh, too. And I think it's also on Mike to give him a good role. And I think that role is off the bench, running with Deuce, running with Jordan Clarkson. Those are high-energy guys that Josh can run with. I do think Mike Brown wants to pick up the pace. I think that's imperative as well. I think that the Knicks played too slow of a pace for the team that they had last year. I think Mike's going to want to pick up the pace, and I think Josh is going to spearhead that. You know, he can handle the rock. He can run the break, and I do think the idea of having Josh Hart running the break with the second unit, and Gershon, you know, trailing for three, like it, or cutting to the rim and dunking on people like he did LeBron James in the Olympics, like that excites me. That's something that I think that could really bolster the bench and make the bench way better than it was last year, because the bench was a huge problem last year. So, yeah, I think Josh's role should change. I agree with this Sports Illustrated article. Go check it out. I'll put it in the comments below. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think Josh's role should change? Because I think it should change. I think that, you know, last year was kind of an interesting year. We bring in Mikal Bridges. Tom Thibodeau really just went what was comfortable, didn't really switch up until it was too late. I ended up putting Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup for Josh Hart. I think that's what it should have been the whole time, and I think that's what Mike Brown's going to do. But I want to know what you think, because I think most Knicks fans are saying what I'm saying, and that's bring him back to the bench. We love Josh, but the role has to change. All right, now before we get out of here, I told you that I do like taking your YouTube comments, and I do like answering questions or responding to them. I do want to make this a community of Knicks fans who love the New York Knicks, who want to talk New York Knicks basketball. And my last video was about Malcolm Brogdon possibly being signed by the Knicks, or Tyler Kolek being that backup point guard in case something happens to Jalen Brunson. Now, we have a comment here from Carl, and Carl says, I would prefer Russell Westbrook over any of them. I disagree here. I get where you're coming from, Carl. Russell Westbrook, for when it's all said and done, is going to be one of the best point guards to ever play the game. Hall of Famer, first ballot, unquestionably. You know, one of the best point guards we've seen, former MVP. To me, where he's at in his career, though, doesn't really make a lot of sense with the Knicks. As I said before, you know, I said my problem with Ben Simmons coming to the Knicks is that I don't know how you stagger minutes with Ben Simmons and Josh Hart if they're both coming off the bench. You have two players who defenses are going to sag off of, and I think that's the same problem you're going to have with Russell Westbrook. If you bring Russell Westbrook onto the Knicks, he's probably going to come off the bench, which means he's probably going to share minutes with Josh Hart. How do you work that lineup? You're going to have to stagger their minutes at some point, or you're going to have to choose one or the other. And to me, I just rather have a Josh Hart right now. I think he fits the team better. I think he does more of the little things than Russell Westbrook does. Russell Westbrook will win you a game, but he will also lose you a few games too. You know, he is very wild. He is very erratic. He's very exciting. But I don't think the Knicks have the roster construction right now where it would make sense to throw Russell Westbrook in there, especially when you have someone like Josh Hart who the defense is sag off of. I don't know how you would stagger those minutes. It does not make a lot of sense to me. I think if you're going to get somebody, you got to get somebody who can shoot the basketball, who can spread the floor, and who defenses can't help too much off of. And Russell Westbrook's not that guy. I think Russ still holds value in this league. You know, it's kind of shocking to me that he's not on a team, that he's unsigned. But I think that team has to be a team where he can be used the way he was used in Oklahoma City, where it's, all right, put the ball in Russ's hands and watch him go. And that could be off the bench. It could be for 20, 25 minutes a game. But the Knicks just aren't built that way. You know, we have Deuce McBride. We have Jordan Clarkson, who are going to, you know, need the ball off the bench. Josh Hart, too, if he moves back to the bench. Russ just does not make a lot of sense for me when it comes to this roster. So, Carl, I understand what you're saying. I get it. It just does not make sense to me. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Would you rather Russell Westbrook at this point, right? Because right now it's coming down to Russ, Landry Shamet, Ben Simmons, Thomas Bryant, those type of players that the Knicks can afford. And you know, there are a lot of options here. So I understand what you might say, though. You know, out of everybody in a vacuum, Russ is the best player. And that I won't argue with. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. It is August. I think we're exactly 2 months away from opening night. Wow. Look at that. So 2 months away from the season starting, the most anticipated Knicks season that I can remember in my adult life, at least. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, drop a comment. I'll see you next time for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.